Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Best Care Home Services.
Good Saturday morning, everybody. Once again, it's Outdoors with Larry Ray, the fastest 90 minutes in outdoor entertainment, coming to you from the spacious 790 ESPN studios here in Memphis, Tennessee. For you folks in Brownsville, yes, we're streaming to you live on 95.3. And for the good folks in Jackson, Tennessee, we're on News Talk 101.5. All things that you want to know about outdoors, you will hear it directly from the oracle of the outdoors, the one and only Larry Ray.
You know, actually, there's four of us. Really, there is four the Larry Rays out there that are involved in fishing and things. I looked that up one time, and they actually spell it the same way. You know, I bet there's a few Frank Bartons out there too. If you ever Google Frank Barton, you would find that there's 4 or 5 in Portland or something. But the oracle's what I like.
Probably
I really like that oracle.
Maybe one in jail.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of John Gordons out there.
Well, I bet there are
pretty common name.
A lot of Johns too. Yeah, I know that. But anyway, thank you, Frank. Frank Barton from the Barton Power Sports, and of course out here on Mount Moriah, that they got the big thing going this morning, and they'll be cutting up Harley-Davidson shirts. You'll bring them in and make them into pillows, which I think is a pretty cool idea. And of course, I see Frank's sign every Sunday and Wednesday on my way to church, and I'll see it again tonight on Whitten Road as I go to the Bartlett Hills Wild Game Dinner. That starts this afternoon at 4. The vendors, we have 17 vendors, the most we've ever had. And then our program starts at 6 and at Bartlett Hills Baptist right at Ellendale and Old Brownsville. Bart Beretta, my good friend Bart Beretta, will be our speaker tonight. $10, come out and eat fish. We actually have fish, hush puppies, and also wild game dishes. That's tonight. And mark on your calendar March 30th. Kind of wraps up the wild game dinner circuit, so to speak, and I'll be speaking at Crossroads Baptist Church out on Houston Levee, right across almost from Briarcrest. That's Crossroads Baptist Church on March the 30th. And we're going to kind of wrap it up today on this segment. We were trying to get Aaron McCaleb from talking about the Funky Chicken Gen 2, which I was wanting Frank to have to say that, but hadn't been able to hook up with Aaron. But talk a little turkey season, because today, turkey season opens in Mississippi, right?
Opened yesterday.
Yesterday. Yesterday. And just as the front came through. And as I told John and Frank, I used to buy that 7-day license, and I always froze to death, or the wind was blowing, or the cows were moving, or whatever it might be. That I really think, and John agreed, that it's kind of hard to open a turkey season the same day as in Hattiesburg as you would in Olive Branch because of weather conditions.
That's not a criticism of Mississippi game.
No, it's just the way the weather's set up. I mean, because it's going to be warmer most of the time in South Mississippi, and it's going to be cooler.
Correct.
In North Mississippi.
Zones would make sense, a south and north zone for turkey hunting in Mississippi, but,
we don't want
it is what it is, so it's already going, and boy, that came up almost quickly. It just seemed like yesterday the duck season closed, and turkeys are already rolling. You got crappie fishing going on. A lot of stuff, in Mississippi, jumping right now.
And you don't hear a lot about Arkansas turkey season, mainly because there just hasn't been any. The way I understand, in parts of Arkansas that used to have turkeys. I don't know what the deal is. Their season starts later. Our season starts later in Tennessee. But I hope to be out there on opening day for Tennessee, and we'll see what happens. But it just doesn't seem like it. Okay, I've got both of you guys here. The duck season's over. What do you think as we look at next year? Will we still have a bag limit of 6? Just predictions now.
I would say we will. I don't see anything, where the population levels are still, with most species way above the long-term average. I don't see them going to any stricter regulations on ducks. As far as we've heard of anything at DU, that it's going to stay the course that it has been on the last. But let's face it, at some point, it's cyclical. That there will be a downturn in the populations, and we've just been fortunate over the last almost 2 decades at this point to have the more open regulations.
Liberal.
Right.
I remember all the talk about that, and Frank, you hear that too. You as a hunter, and of course, now that John is so closely associated with Ducks Unlimited, he's able to keep up with those things. But you, Frank, as a hunter, I know you're the most optimistic duck hunter I've ever seen. So,
well, I don't know about that, but I always say that there's nobody more optimistic
than a duck hunter.
So that's the only way they keep coming back.
So you've.
I would agree with John. I think we're going to see. I think we will see a 6 duck limit next year.
Okay.
And based on the fact that the historically we still have good numbers, although last year was lower, especially with mallards.
Yes, it was.
And we saw that. I saw that firsthand, in my opinion. But that won't do anything to dissuade me from getting ready, which we've already started.
Figured you had. Now's a good time to do it, isn't it?
Well, you got to get the water off, which we're still doing that.
Yes,
we'll be
doing that.
We'll be getting water off until May.
Yeah, you will be. Yeah. As Andy Tweed said earlier, that's kind of scary what he was talking about. At this level, we were like number 7. The highest that the river's ever crest. Number 1 was 2011, but then I hadn't really thought about that. The snow up north that they've had, that's going to come down here eventually.
Right, and
so it won't be the rain really here per se. It'll be what's happening up there.
If you go back and you look at what happened in 2011, it was we had that high river. It was during the spring thaw.
Yeah, it was.
And we were catching all that water. Plus, we had amazing amounts of rainfall that coincided in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
And although the river got to 48.
Yeah, but crest is 30.
48 and some change.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit the 49 and some change, which was the all-time, but it got there. But if you had been out there and watching the river, as those of us that were working on the river, as I was, I had a business out there on the river during that time.
Yes, you did. Yes,
and you could see,
know that.
You could see how quickly it could come up 5 feet in 36 hours.
Yeah, and it doesn't go down that quickly.
And it doesn't. But you saw how quickly, and then you saw that where it was in relationship to the levee.
Yeah.
It's a sobering thought. We found out something during that flood.
What?
I hope we don't have to try and find out about it again.
What's that?
That the levee in Arkansas, the river levee in Arkansas is a little bit lower than the river levee in Mississippi, on the Mississippi side.
Really?
The St. Francis levee is a little bit lower than the Yazoo District levee. I hope we don't really find that out.
Let's don't find that out again. That's not
much, but it doesn't take much.
It does not take much, the pressure that's going down there. But, again, the water, we can talk about floods and things like that, but that had an effect on the ducks, too, because there was water everywhere. We talk about they stayed up north, they had plenty to eat, they didn't come through, whatever it might be, but I heard so many people say, no more water, and everybody said, oh, this is great weather for a duck hunting. No. There's a point that you would like a few dry days in there.
Well, this state had its record rainfall ever. During that time period.
Yeah.
So, it was as much water, as ever been, and the birds really, they were here, and there were ducks. Any kind of pressure on them whatsoever, and they just scattered into the wind because they could.
Man, they had they had refuges they could go to.
Sure. I mean, we had refuges that were just
and ducks on the
places
river.
that weren't supposed to be flooded at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just covered in water, and they just went there.
Ducks on the river and places that they'd never been before. So it comes all down to that. So you've been on the job at DU how long now, John?
I started in late October. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's flying by.
That
really.
is really amazing. Now, are you through filming? Are you starting filming now? You're through filming for this season's already completed,
except for one segment of the DU Can Serve film series, the new one that we'll be coming out with in August.
Okay,
we've got one more segment to do there in South Dakota. And Conserve is not hunting based, so it's habitat based. So we're really a lot more flexible as far as filming for that. But I've been putting together DU TV, hot and heavy, and just about have it wrapped up as far as my schedule for this coming fall, and I think folks are really going to enjoy this coming season. It's the one after this one that's going to air starting in July.
Yeah,
I got some really cool locations going on. I think it's going to be really good.
Well, I think you're enjoying what you're doing, and that's
correct.
That's good. Next week, Ron Wong will be back from the Classic. We hope, unless he stays over there. Bill Cooksey will be with us. We're going to talk to Mark Copley at Strike King Lure Company. A little bit about the Classic, but also about a big youth fishing event that he's heavily involved. We really need to know about. Amy Snyder, TWR Region 1 Information Officer. We'll talk to her. And, hey, listen to this. David Rock, whose name should be that, he specializes in crafting transportive landscapes to serve as backdrops. He's right now completing one of his biggest challenges that he's ever done at the Tennessee Aquarium in Chattanooga. And we're going to talk to David about this challenge he's doing. If you've never been to the Tennessee Aquarium in Chattanooga, it is a wonderful place to go and visit, take your kids or whatever it might be. And then we've got a big event in the DU. You know about the Boiling for a Cure? Have you heard about that?
I haven't, but it sounds intriguing. It sounds like a crawfish boil.
It is. And so we're going to talk to Greg Reeves next week about that event. And then hopefully, if Ron Wong can do it, and if anybody can do it, it'll be Ron Wong, we're going to have the Classic champion on next week's show. So in the next week's show, we'll tell you who's won the Pick the Classic Winner contest, and you're going to get a really nice prize package from our good friends at Strike King. So with that, without further ado, this is Larry Ray reminding you I do each and every week. It doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport. And what else?
God bless the USA.